Hi guys, and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. In this short tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make your own completely food safe moulds. So if you're struggling to get hold of a certain shape, this is the way to go. Everything you need to know step by step, and the best thing about these moulds, they can be placed in the oven and also the freezer. So it works with so many different mediums. The first thing we need to do is actually create the shape that we want the mould to be in. To do this, I'm using a clay Fimo, and this can be shaped in any shape you want, and then you just place it in an oven for 30 minutes at 110 degrees centigrade. So the first thing that we need to do is actually make the shape that we want the mould to be in. So for this, I'm using the Fimo clay. And I'm choosing to make a rainbow. So place down some baking paper on your work surface first. This will just help prevent the clay from sticking to it. I'm using a circle cutter as a guide. This needs to be absolutely perfect. Remember, you're turning it into a mould. Knead the clay with your hands until it becomes lovely and pliable. Fimo is lovely to work with, very easy, and you'll get some beautiful shapes out of it. Roll these into sausage shapes if you're choosing to make a rainbow, and then I simply stick the sausage shapes together after they've all been rolled out and placed around the circle cutter with some water, because obviously we're working with clay. As mentioned previously, I will then place this in the oven at 110 degrees centigrade for approximately 30 minutes. When this is then taken out of the oven, we can start the exciting process of making the actual mould. Remember, you can make any shapes that you want. On this close-up, you can see me actually add the water and just how smooth this beautiful Fimo clay ends up being. Now it's time for the fun part, making the actual mould. So I'm using something called silicone plastique. Now this is distributed by Cakecraft. However, Marvelous Moulds do have their own version of this, and I will leave a link to that for you in the description below this YouTube video. So in order to use the silicone plastique, you simply knead together parts A and parts B of equal amounts. So here there is 100 gram of part A and 100 gram of part B. Knead this together just like you would if you were adding a food colouring to fondant, and knead it until it's got a uniform colour. So you need it all of the same colour. It needs to be kneaded in well enough in order for this to work properly. We will have about 10, maybe 15 minutes to actually use this before it starts to set. This was my very first time at making a mould, so I was a tad concerned that I wouldn't have enough time, but I had ample of time, as you will see in this actual video. It stays lovely and pliable, and then we simply leave this at room temperature for a couple of hours. It really is as simple as that to create your own homemade, bespoke, food safe moulds. So now the silicone plastique is ready, I have placed my clay rainbow on a piece of acetate. This will just help prevent the silicone plastique from sticking to anything. And then we want to just push it down, first of all, just a thin layer on, and pick up on all those beautiful indentations. So really give it a good push down. By doing this first, you will also help prevent getting air bubbles trapped in there, which is something you don't want when you're making your own mould. So whatever shape it is you have, take very small amounts of your mixed silicone plastique and go all the way over your shape, pushing down just with a very small amount first. You'll then see me add some really large pieces of the silicone plastique. We are still working within that like 10 to 15 minute gap right now, but I'm wanting a really strong, deep mould. So I do add more to the top of this, just so it's not really thin and flimsy. Doesn't matter if it is thin and flimsy, I just like mine to be thick and deep. So I keep on adding to the top, and then I neaten it up the best I can. Remember, this mould's going to be used for life. It's completely food safe, and just look how easy they are to create. I was very impressed as well with the working time that I had with it. I could eventually tell when it was starting to kind of set, but it was still workable, if you like. So if you are relatively new to this, just like I was, it's not difficult or scary to do. And the shapes you could create, just let your imagination run wild. So completely cover all of this, and you then want to leave this at room temperature for about 2 hours. I left mine. And if you get a coin just to test that it's actually set, and push the coin directly into the mould, if it leaves an indentation there, it needs longer. So just leave it. When you get to a point where you can push a coin into the silicone plastic and it doesn't leave an indentation, your food safe mould is ready to use. So this has been left at room temperature for about 2 hours. I gently peel away the clay rainbow that we made right at the beginning of this tutorial. If you just peel it away very gently, you'll notice it's still on some acetate. This was just to prevent the mould from sticking, but once it's set, you've just got a normal food safe mould. And just look at how easy that was to actually achieve. The world is your oyster with this silicone plastic. You can create so many different shapes. Just make them from clay, bake it in the oven first, and then use the silicone plastic to create a mould that you can use for life. Remember, these can go in the oven, they can go in the freezer, they can be treated just like any other silicone mould that you have in your collection. A very simple one for you today, guys. I do hope it's helped you. It was definitely new for me, and it's something I would highly recommend giving a try. I will leave a link to the Marvelous Moulds version of this in the description below the YouTube video. Happy baking, guys. I really do hope I've helped you again today, and I'll be back soon with more new, completely free content. I do hope you're all keeping safe and well.